bigger copy because I made 5 copies.
Okay, good evening. This is a public meeting of the Lowell Zoning Board of Appeals for March 24th, 2014. Before we get started, I'd like to request if anybody has any electronic devices on them, that they please turn them off or turn them down at this point. And if there's anyone here that wants to speak on behalf of a petition, could you please sign in at the podium before addressing the board? The first matter before us is under continuances. This is ZB 2014-4. The petition's a variance for dimensional requirements. The applicant is Mohammed Jatai at 173 Westford Street. The petitioner seeks a variance to construct a new single-family dwelling without meeting dimensional requirements pursuant to Section 6.3 and Article 12, Table of Uses of the zoning ordinance. Good evening, sir.
Evening, gentlemen.
Hi, good to see you again. So I know the first time you were in, we had a brief discussion, and my understanding was you're going to come back and you've submitted some new plans this evening. Did you sit down with anybody from the city at all?
We didn't sit down. Yes, we spoke with Joe.
Joe
I think
Genowitz?
it's this lady's counterpart
Well,
here.
did they come in and sit with Joe, or was it just a communication?
No, they did have a meeting with Joe to discuss, and I think the plans were revised accordingly.
Okay. Okay. So tonight, we have a new set of plans in front of us. Do you want to run through it yourself, or do you have somebody here representing you?
Yes, we have our engineer here. If you have any further questions, I'll forward you over to.
Okay,
Nick
well,
Sakari.
what I would request is if either yourself or this gentleman, if he wants to run through, since we really never talked about what was going to be proposed for the site, we can get an idea of what's being proposed, and then the board can entertain it at that point.
Sure.
Okay?
Hi, good evening. My name is Dominic Sakari with Dominic Sakari Associates. Our office completed those plans that you have there. They have their own surveyor who had done a plot plan. I don't know if you had anything on plot plans. I took a folder with me in case you need copies of that, if you want these.
Yep.
I met my clients literally about 2 weeks ago for the first time, and they were in a little panic because they needed some plans, so we fit them in and we created that for them. My understanding, on the plot plan that was given to us, it gave us the parameters of where you could go with the size of the building. We actually got some photographs that were forwarded to us showing the other architecture that's in the neighborhood with some bay windows and more traditional architecture that's there, and that's basically what we created on those plans. So what you see there was the parameters that we were given by the City of Lowell through my clients, and also the plot plan, which was given to me by their surveyor as well.
Okay.
Another understanding I had spoken to someone a little earlier on the phone. I haven't physically seen the lot. I've only seen photographs of it. No topographies were given to me. I found out after the fact that the land is pretty much level at the sidewalk, but as you go towards the rear of the lot, it drops a little bit. So at one point, when we provide real construction documentations, we're asking for the surveyor to give us topographies for that. Being that the garage will be on the front, I'm not worried about any water entering there because you're pretty much level. But they'll do a step foundation in the back, and we'll get that done accordingly when we have that information, if everything is adequate this evening.
Okay. So did you say you looked through the comments that the city had originally provided for this?
Right. I collaborated with the surveyor on the phone, and he told us what the parameters were and what the setback requirements were, and there was a little clause that you can actually put part of a porch a little closer towards the property line, is what he had told me. So what we did is we created more of a bay type of facade on there and added a porch there too to give it some more stylization on there. We have an overhang which is over the garage door, so there's a 2-foot overhang on the second floor. The garage front to rear is 22 feet. The second floor above that is 24 feet. Gives you a little bit of interest so you don't have a garage that's staring you directly at the front of the building. So by stepping it back a little bit more, we see a little bit of interest that we want to focus more on the older style porch of the house is what we're looking at, and the garage being secondary, because obviously back then, we didn't have garages in homes, but with today's amenities, it is there, but it's not the main feature of the home.
So it's a one-car garage?
It's a one-car garage. There are plans that you can see from the first, second, and third floor in the attic. They're all done to the exact dimensions of what they'll be doing.
Yep.
And then we have the 4 elevations that show that information as well.
Right. So the facade, the front of the building would actually, to your point, would be sitting right off of the current city sidewalk, is that correct?
Right, well, it's actually further in than where it is right now. The old house that used to be there, according to the surveyed plan that I have, we came forward, on the surveyor's plan, you'll see some dimensions. I believe one is 29 feet or so on the right side. Let me double check. He has a dimension of 27 feet and then 5 feet in front of that, giving you a total of 29. And he has that set back 15 feet from the street at the far right, 12.5 feet to the window area. So what we've done is we've gone in front of that window area approximately 4 feet or so, 4.5 feet. So let me see where we have it here. Yeah, we've gone 4 feet in front of that 12.5 foot that he has. That's the furthest point off the, so if you take the 12.5 feet and you subtract 4 feet, we're actually 8.5 feet from the sidewalk at the edge of the front porch. Unlike the old home, which was much closer to the street.
Right.
It was
But you are,
It was challenging only because it was a very, very small building, and believe it or not, it's more challenging to do the tiny ones like this sometimes and make it look good and
Right.
get everything that you need in there.
so you're providing a one-car garage plus one spot in front of the
Right.
garage, correct?
He has a 9-foot by 18-foot parking spot directly in front of that garage. So you have 2 parking spaces, one internal and one outside.
And do you have, as far as, I'll call it green space, is there any green space being provided?
Yeah, if you take a look at his plot plan, the green space will be to the rear of the home. There'll actually be some to the left of the home, and there'll be quite a bit of it to the right of the home, including the area that's to the right of the front porch and a little bit in front of the front porch. So by looking at his plot plan, you could see all that extra area that doesn't have any driveway or anything on there.
Okay, so on the plot plan, and I'm just looking at the plot plan, is the house going to be positioned straight back, or does it have an angle on it?
It's positioned exactly the way the old structure was,
Okay,
according to
I
what
have
we
no idea what the old structure looked like.
Well, it's right underneath you. The surveyor showed an overlay for you, so you could see the older one that had been there.
Okay. Okay. All right, I don't have anything else at this point to add.
Okay.
Is there anything else you'd like to speak to before we open it up to the public?
No, I'm pretty much all set, other than, would you like me to sign this as well?
Nope, that's
Okay.
that's okay.
Thanks.
Okay, is there anyone here that'd like to speak in favor of this petition? In favor? Favor? Hearing none, that portion of the public hearing is closed. Anyone like to speak in opposition? 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 Hearing none, that portion of public hearing is closed. I'd like to open it up to the board. Mike?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just have a question about the topography. I know we had a petition a couple of weeks ago where the same questions arose around whether we can continue to look at the development before we have an idea. The lot is almost like a bowl, where from the street, it seems like there would be an issue with water and runoff because of the way the other houses are below that one on Westford Street, and I'm just wondering if we need that tonight or not. So I guess it's more a question for you or for Swati, please.
May I address? So basically, they will need more detailed topographic information for their building permit. And also, it will be something that will be reviewed by the engineer's office, because they need to make sure there is basically zero runoff from the site. So those are all checkpoints where that will be collaborated. So the board may choose to, keep that as a condition, pending, topographic design reviewed by the engineer's office or the development services building department. So,
Okay, thank you. I don't have any further questions, just a comment. Certainly, in just a couple short weeks' time, you brought us a lot more information than you did at the first meeting, so I just keep the momentum going, and that's it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. Van?
I have no comments, Mr. Chairman.
Dennis?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, I have a few questions here, but I think the plans have come a long way since the last time we saw them. It's good to see that the floor plans, the elevations, and the site plan all have the same building on it, so that's good. I'm glad to see that. I am disappointed, though. The one element that I had asked specifically for was to maintain the requirements that's in the zoning bylaws under variance on page 116, item N and O, which specifically require that the applicant provide topographical lines at 1-foot intervals, as well as elevations above finished grade for the floor and ceiling to lowest floor of each building. So this is here for a reason, because on sites such as yours, there needs to be an understanding as to how everything will fit. I'm looking at your plan here, and the rear stair and stoop is not on the plan. There's only 7.3 feet to the property line there. It gets a little bit wider where the stair will be, call it maybe 8 or 9 feet, but typically a landing and stair would be in the neighborhood of 8 feet. So if you've got a retaining wall back there, because your plans show a level site, the retaining wall would be probably 8 feet in elevation in that back corner. Your stair is going to be right on top of the retaining wall, so it won't fit the way it's drawn. So I think if you had gone through the effort of doing what's required in the zoning bylaws of developing the topographical plan and then laying the house on that topographical plan, you would have been able to understand how to solve that. So it's incomplete from my standpoint, because A, we don't know if we've got exposed foundation walls in the building, or if we have a retaining wall on the site. It's unclear as to how you're handling that grade change. And it's about a 5% slope from front to back, which is not a small dimension. And I think runoff could be a problem as well with that kind of severe slope. And the property behind you there is really close to the property line as well. So we need to have some sensitivity to how you're going to develop this site, with the retaining wall basically shading that entire first floor of that house behind you, or just exactly what the final plan is here, because it's incomplete, like I said. And I specifically asked for this piece to be addressed in this next meeting. So I'm disappointed that we didn't get that. In addition, I'd like to see more definition with the building in the front setback. You made reference to the dimension earlier roughly 8 feet, I think, is what you suggested we would have left over from the property line to the porch. We really need to see how that whole front yard is being developed here, I think, on the plan. In addition to the porch, there's also a stair that goes down as well. So it's actually 6'6", I think, when you do all the math. So we're making something that I think works, and I think we wanted to have something that was in character with the neighborhood, but I think we need to have a document that is complete, at least from my standpoint, so that I can understand all the characteristics here. It's a great thing that you're doing. I love the fact that you're putting a house there. I want it to be a successful house. I want it to have a house there that everyone is participating in the success of. So there are a lot of houses that go up in these neighborhoods that are done with hope and a prayer that it'll turn out right. But I think where you've got so much sensitivity on this lot with the tight neighborhood, it's undersized per zoning, that's why here in first place. We really have to have a complete picture, at least for me, to vote on this favorably, and I don't see it. So, but you've come a long way. Site, to me, is key on a site that slopes 5%, so. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Dennis. Gary?
Through you, Mr. Chairman. I too must echo Mr. McCarthy's sentiment. We did, I echoed the same concern with the foundation exposure. I was concerned about the elevation from the front door to the side of the driveway itself, and with that grade, soil erosion comes into play, not only within the site where this house would remain, but when we look at that 7 feet 3 inches, what's the erosion, soil erosion report for the bounding neighbors as well? I agree. You have a representative tonight. You're moving in the right direction. You have an architectural plan. It just seems as though there's just a couple of elements that are still missing at this point in order to help you move forward with your project. Now, again, to be proposing to put a oversized house on a small lot, you've made some great changes with the bay window. It's still, when we look to the zoning board for that complete package, it's still, for me, it's still not there. That's all I have right now, Mr. Chairman.
Good. Well, I think a couple of key things were said by the board members. We have a vacant lot there, and you people are looking to put up a nice home, and we want to help you with that. But I have to agree with the board members that we're still missing a few items here to make this a success. Mr. Sakari, can you come up to the mic, please? So you heard some of the comments from the board members.
I've heard the comments.
Is this something you can address on your own, or do you?
No, that's why when I had made my presentation, I mentioned that we really needed, that was the first thing I told you, we need topographies of this because that was my concern. I think we could still make the house look rather nice and work it out because we'd like to do step foundations. I'm one of these people that doesn't like concrete slabs on walls. So what we would do is wherever you have it step, take the siding of the house and bring it down appropriately to do that. If it steps down enough, maybe in the basement, you could do a double hung window at that elevation if it's low enough as well. There's different things that you can do. I've been doing this almost 34 years, so I've seen just about everything in front of me.
Right.
But in their defense, maybe it was a little confusing for them, but they've gone in the right direction. As I said, we only met 2 weeks ago at my office and tried to make this happen real quickly for you in the middle of all the other things we're doing. So they have an actual surveyor who did that plot plan. Perhaps he can go to the next level, to the next step, and give us the proper perspective of what we have for topos there so we can get the right information for that portion of it. So I can wholeheartedly understand your end with the topos, and that was one of my concerns as well. Because obviously if you have the right topography mixed in with the right design, things work out pretty nicely. So What I would probably suggest to them is just continue with the surveyor and get that information, and it can be incorporated.
Okay, well, that's good to hear. Again, I wanted to leave it to you if you felt
Right.
like, you know.
Yeah, I'm not a surveyor, so I can't do any of those things, but they already have one, so
Yeah.
I would
No,
suggest.
I think, you know, again, the petitioner came in here with no
Right.
representation, and
Mhm.
we pretty much suggested, you know, to try to get this off to a good start was to sit with the city.
And as I said, I think they've done really well since
Sure,
this is
yeah.
new, because I haven't been here with their previous meeting, and I guess in several weeks, they've moved very, very quickly.
Right.
So once we
Okay.
get the information from the surveyor, they can probably have a continuance, and you can take a look at that as well.
Yeah, well, I gotta present it to the petitioner first. Is this something you'd like to continue with, sir?
What would you like to do? I mean, if they presented this information prior to building, because you need building construction plans, I'm pretty sure that these matters can be ironed out in a real set of construction documents. Tonight, the review more or less was for the setback requirements and all that, and I'm pretty sure that we can make this work in the manner that you want. Actually, the amount of detail we have just for presentation, I mean, we're almost there, just for the plan, but we'll have
Well,
costs.
I don't think I'm ready to vote on this, and with certain conditions, I'd like to see.
So you
again,
need
so
to,
Swati, in your opinion, do you think it's necessary that the party sit with the city at all at this point, or do you feel like that they're pretty much know what they need to do? Because one other thing I asked about landscaping, and you basically told me where there would be some green space.
right, and we can have the surveyor,
I'd like to see a little
Do that.
bit of just a landscape plan. Doesn't have to be anything extravagant, but, actually what it's gonna look like, so we can take care of that also.
I think, if there is substantial grade difference, it may even alter the proposed plan to a certain extent. So, which will be something they will have to anyway do when they proceed to apply for the building permit. So, if they are strongly, pursuing this, it will be in their benefit to have the board review the topographical information, because that may work in their favor. So, considering, this being a tight lot, and although the proposed building is smaller than what used to exist there, right now it's vacant, so we have to move from that status. So it will be helpful to have the topographic information.
Okay, so the next thing will be, how much time do you need to do this? We can continue it for 2 weeks, or we can continue it for a month?
it would
or-
be up to their surveyor, because that would be beyond our scope of what we
Right.
can do.
So I think with that said, since the surveyor's not here, I'm gonna continue it for 2 meetings. And if we get to the point where the petitioner's still not ready in 4 weeks, then we can continue it again
Okay.
at that point anyways. But since nobody's here to speak for that person, my recommendation is we move it out 2 more meetings, and then we'll continue it again. Any other comments for board members? Yes, Dennis?
Through Mr. Chairman, you'd mentioned the idea of the step foundation, which I think is a great way to resolve the severe grade change in that back corner. But where we have a garage, typically you wouldn't have a basement under the garage. I'm not sure what your
No,
idea would
you wouldn't
be.
have that, but there's ways that you can actually take your siding and overlap it if you have a concrete wall, if they had to have something like that.
Okay, so we'd be looking at a retaining wall of some sort of raised
Right,
foundation
in other words,
wall would be exposed.
we would
Yep.
make sure that aesthetically, you're not looking at a concrete. We can take down the siding and do some trim work and accent colors to make it look nicer.
Absolutely, I
Yeah.
agree. Would be interested in the topo being accurate, and then also having the elevations of the home match the proposed
Right, that
grades
can,
on the topo.
that won't take long on our part. We can do that basically very quickly once we have that information.
And then I think it'd be helpful if you've got some site characteristics that are, to use landscaping as a way to solve some of these issues.
Absolutely.
Because it is a tight site. So,
Okay.
I'd especially like to see a clear understanding of the front yard as well, please.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, any other comments? Hearing none, so Sarah, what we're going to do is we're going to continue this to April 28th. So at that time, we'll meet again, hopefully go through another set of plans and see where we're at that point. Okay?
Thank you, gentlemen.
Okay. All right, so could I have a motion, please?
I'd like to make a motion for ZB 2014-004, petition type is a variance seeking relief for dimensional requirements to continue to, what's the date?
April 28th.
April 28th.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Roll call?
I'm going to take it electronically because I didn't bring the book. Mr. Paglia,
Continue to April 28th?
Mr. Peck,
Continue.
Mr. McCarthy,
Continue to April 28th.
Mr. Bailey,
Continue to April 28th.
Mr. Perrin.
Continue to April 28th.
Thank you.
Okay, so we'll see you on April 28th.
They just told me they'd like to do it even earlier. They think they could get their surveyor to work.
Well, we just took the vote, so we'll go to the 28th. Thank you. Okay, next matter before us is ZB 2014-10, petitions of variance for dimensional requirements. The applicant is Lawrence Finn. Property is located at 16 Benton Street. Petition, the petitioner seeks a variance to construct a new garage without meeting the setback requirement for the distance between an accessory structure and main dwelling pursuant to section 5.1 of the zoning ordinance. Good evening, Mr. Finn.
Good evening.
So the last time you were in, we had a lengthy discussion about the petition, and it's my understanding, did you sit and meet with DPD at all and have a meeting?
I didn't have a meeting with DPD.
Okay.
But I had some help with
Okay.
changing the plan a little bit,
Right.
so it would fit better, and the
Okay.
connection to the house would work better also.
So do you want to tell us about your new set of plans, please?
So we changed the dimensions from 24 by 28 to 24 by 26.
Okay.
And we moved the garage closer to the house by putting the doghouse connection from the garage to the den of the existing house on the side.
Okay.
I,
All right, so there's not, is that a revised, does that show the changes?
yes, I gave it to.
Okay. I got a year older in the past week, so I'm a
That's
little bit
okay.
slower. Okay, well, that's, since our last meeting, when I re-reviewed the plans, I know we didn't talk about reducing the size of the garage or the structure at that point. So tonight, what you're recommending, not recommending, but you're changing is the actual dimension. You're shrinking it by a couple of feet, correct?
Right.
Okay. And the doghouse, which we discussed at the last meeting, if you can explain that again, so it's
Sure,
going to be?
we put the doghouse to the side of the garage so that we can move the garage closer to the house also.
Okay.
So there's more boundary off the back lot line.
Okay, so do we know how far off the main structure of the garage or the doghouse?
Approximately 6 to 7 feet and approximately 10 feet off the back boundary.
Okay. All right, so we've made some modifications. I'm just visualizing this, what we're talking about. And as far as setbacks, now, I know when you first came in, we were only talking about the variance of the gap between the garage and the home. And then we talked about the doghouse, and that was going to lend itself into a new variance requirement. I believe it was going to be like a 20-foot setback because of that connection. So do we know what our setback is now with the, I'll call it modified plans?
Yeah, like I said, it's going to be, I think I was looking for about 5 feet off the back lot, so we're bringing it to approximately 10 feet. And the side also is going to be a little more room on the left side, so
Okay.
it's going more into my yard, away from the neighbors.
Okay. And when you say the neighbors, Mr. Finn, are you talking the neighbors at the rear or, say, on
both.
Stevens Street, on both sides?
Both sides.
Yeah. Okay. Anything else you'd like to add at this point?
No, I appreciate you working with me on it, and
Yep. Yep.
it's been a big help. Thank you.
Sure. Okay, anyone here, okay, I'm going to open it up to the public. Anyone here like to speak in favor of this petition? In favor? Favor? Hearing none. That portion of public hearing is closed. Anyone like to speak in opposition? 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 Hearing none. That portion of public hearing is closed. I'd like to open it up to the board. Mike?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Through you to the petitioner, I just want to thank you for reworking the project. There was no neighborhood opposition a couple of weeks ago, and now you've added the doghouse and moved it a little closer, so I don't have any issues with the revised plans. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. Van?
I have no comments, Mr. Chairman.
Dennis?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to mention that I'm glad that we have a nice middle ground struck here, I think, with this new design, doubling basically what you had previously proposed for the rear yard setback and increasing the side yard setback from 5 to 7 feet. We do, I think, need a site plan that documents that. And I would suggest that maybe we make that a condition, that a site plan be provided to DPD that documents the additional setbacks being reached of 10 feet in the rear and 7 feet at the side yard.
Excuse me, would that be from the surveyor?
Yes,
Okay.
right. So we need an updated site plan, I think, to document those dimensions being reached.
Okay.
And I think we'd just make it part of the condition that it be a 10-foot rear setback and a 7-foot minimum side yard setback. But other than that, I think this is a great layout, so I
Thank
thank
you.
you very much.
Thank you, Dennis. Gary?
Through you, Mr. Chairman. I echo the sentiments. I appreciate your patience in taking some advice and picking up that extra 5 feet and 2+ feet. In the scheme of things may seem small, but it's actually, it's something that, you know, this board particularly looks in rear setbacks and side setbacks. And I think this new layout that you came out with and this actual site plan, it really is going to bode, I think, a lot better for you in the long run. It looks really well, and I think you would be able to, you know, attain all your goals there, that you, some of the concerns you have with your mudroom and everything like that. So I'm glad you were able to work with the board and DPD, and I wish you the best of luck with this project.
Thank you.
Well, I agree with my board members. After we met the first time, I took a couple more rides around that neighborhood, and if we're talking about, meeting certain variances, I think if you look at the general character of that neighborhood, there's many homes that are similar to yours, not all the same, but there's also a lot of, I'll call attachments to a lot of the homes. I even did an aerial view at one point, and I think if we're going to start talking about variances and structures, I believe this petition, now that we've actually modified it, will fit the character of the neighborhood. And I don't see any issues here that we're disrupting the neighborhood with adding on this structure. I think we discussed kind of the style of your home that you have there anyways. You have pride of ownership. I think the addition of the garage obviously meets a couple of requirements that your family needs at this point, and I'm very satisfied with the set of plans that were submitted tonight and the modifications, and we were able to work together on this. So I believe as far as the criteria and the requirements for the variance, I'm more than happy with the changes, and I believe it meets the requirements as set forth. And so I guess the only other thing I'll add is Dennis had mentioned conditioning, and I believe you understand what he's looking at here. So a site plan docs submitted. That's the only condition that I know of. Any other comments for any other board members regarding conditions or comments in general? So hearing none, could I have a motion, please?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion for ZB 2014-010 petition for variance seeking relief for dimensional requirements, that the condition of providing DPD with a revised site plan, clearly showing the rear yard setback to be 10 feet and the minimum side yard setback to be 7 feet to be provided.
Okay, could I have a second?
I'll second.
Have a roll call?
Mr. Paglia,
Approved with condition?
Mr. Peck,
Approve with conditions?
Mr. McCarthy,
Approved with condition.
Mr. Bailey,
Proof with conditions.
Mr. Perrin.
Approve with condition.
Thank you.
Okay, Ms. Finn, been approved with conditions.
Thank you.
Wish
Thank
the
you
best
very
of luck.
much. Thanks.
Yep, have a good evening.
You too.
Taking the agenda and throwing it away. No, I got it. Yep. Okay, next order of business is under new business. This is ZB 2014-11. The petitions of variance for dimensional requirements. The applicant is Lowell Regional Water Utility. Property located at 178 and 180 Stackpole Street. The petitioner seeks a variance to replace the pumping station and associated equipment without meeting dimensional requirements for front yard and side yard setbacks, and curb cut width pursuant to section 5.1, 6.11 of the zoning ordinance. Good evening, sir. How are you?
Good evening, Commissioner. I'm doing well. Chairman, sorry.
Oh, that's okay. It kind of makes me sound a little bit bigger even than a chairman or commissioner. Yeah.
My name is Nathan Little. I'm with Woodard and Curran. I'm here with Jim Rivard with Woodard and Curran as well, representing Lowell Regional Water Utility. And I want to thank you guys for hearing our petition. Just to give a little background on the project, location can be seen in the locus map that was included with the petition, the application.
Yep.
The address, as you stated, was 178, 180 Stackpole Street. It's abutted by Stackpole Street on the south, Nesmith Street on the west, and the Merrimack River to the north. It's just on the southeast side of the Huntsville Bridge, and across Nesmith Street is Lowell General Hospital. It's in the TTF, Traditional Two-Family Zoning District. As far as the project itself, the proposed project includes renovation of one of the two primary facilities within the water distribution system that transfer water from the low service area to the high service area. The high service area serves approximately 15% of the customers in Lowell. The existing pump station at this property was built in 1974, last rehabilitated in 1995, and is in need of replacement. The proposed work includes installation of a new booster pumping station, a prefabricated booster pumping station, relocating the existing emergency generator on site, upgrading the electrical service, installing some new SCADA instrumentation and radio panel, connecting the new pump station to the existing water mains, demolition and removal of the existing pump station and associated equipment, and finished site work including repaving, installation of new fence and gate and guardrails, replacing sidewalks and relocating the existing curb cut. As you stated, the variances requested include the minimum front yard variance, the minimum side yard, and the maximum curb cut. There's a table on page 3 of the application that describe the requirements, the existing setbacks, and the proposed setbacks and distances. As you can see, the front yard, according to section 5.1 zoning bylaws, a 15-foot yard minimum is required. The existing site, the pump station, is located approximately 6.6 feet from the property line. The existing generator on site is less than a half a foot and 0.35 feet from the property line. If you could, I'd like to pass out some pictures of the existing site. Just to give you an idea of what the site looks like. Those are two separate documents, so Van and Michael, you have, this is a different site in Lowell. The package that Chairman has shows the existing site.
Yep. Could you go back? You wanna see?
So the proposed pump station would look similar to what Michael has, Mr. Paglia has. So Mr. Paglia is passing out, these are pictures from another pump station located here in Lowell, the Beacon Street Pump Station, which is what the proposed new pump station here at Stackpole Street is proposed to look like, similar to that. So these give you an idea of the existing site and the proposed.
So is it, since I was rude enough to interrupt you,
No, that's,
is it changing in size at all, or is it just the appearance that it's?
it's going to be fairly similar in size. I believe the existing structure is approximately 450 square feet. The proposed structure is a 15 by 30 structure, so about 450 square feet.
Okay.
Those are approximate. I could give you exact areas, footprints of the buildings, if you'd like. But the proposed pump station is proposed to have a 7 3/4 foot setback from the property line. The reasoning for not meeting the zoning requirement is site constraints, site conditions. As you move north on the site, you end up hitting a severe slope down to the river. So for constructability sakes, we wanted to leave some space in the rear of the lot for equipment, for construction of the foundation, as well as the utilities, the suction piping that needs to be ran along the back of the pump station. As far as the minimum side yard, according to section 5.1, table 5.1, I should say. It's 10, some 25 for a traditional two-family. The existing property has 27, some 100, and we're seeking variance for the proposed of being 5, some 63. The 5-foot minimum side yard is to the generator. You can see in the site plan that was submitted with the application is site plan C02. C01 shows the existing site conditions and the proposed demolition. And the C02 shows the proposed new pump station layout and site layout. The generator has to be moved, and in order to keep the existing pump station operating during construction of the new pump station, that location on the site was, we were kind of constrained as far as the site layout went, and that was really the only location that we saw feasible to move the existing generator. Also, due to some requirements from National Grid as far as distances and setbacks between the transformer and a diesel generator, we needed to locate it there as well. And lastly, the maximum curb cut. The zoning calls for a maximum of 15-foot curb cut. The existing site has a 24-foot curb cut, and we're proposing a 20-foot curb cut to maintain access for the city's utility vehicles and any heavy machinery that would be required on site if necessary. I'd just like to note that a driveway permit application was submitted to the city engineering department on March 6th for initial review comments. The final application will be submitted by the contractor once the project is awarded and prior to construction. Just in closing, the project will be upgrading a crucial facility for the city of Lowell and the Lowell Regional Water Utility. The proposed site layout will improve the existing non-conforming structure. And I want to thank you again for hearing our petition and open it up to comments and questions.
Good. Thank you. So as far as operation of the site, to your knowledge, is pretty much going to be the same type of operation? Nothing's going to change materially what
Correct.
goes on there? Okay.
Correct, yep.
And you answered my question about the resizing of the facility. Swati, I didn't receive or see anything from any city departments. Did you receive any comments?
No, we did not receive any comments, and I think the site has constraints, and though it's located in a residential zone, the nature of this, use of the property is very exclusive and unique to the infrastructure service it's providing. So, although it's not meeting the prescribed setbacks, it is actually a slightly improvement over the existing non-compliance.
Okay. And it's going to be fenced in just like it currently is, and you showed the picture of the other place.
Correct.
Okay. And any idea, once construction starts, how long it'll last?
The anticipated construction schedule is roughly 9 months. Moving forward, we're hoping to go out to bid with the project around July 1st with an anticipated 3-month bid and award timeframe. So we're looking at early to mid-fall as far as construction start time and an anticipated 9-month construction timeframe.
Okay. Okay, anything else you want to add at this point?
No,
Okay.
Chairman, thank you.
I'll open it up to the public. Anyone here like to speak in favor of this petition? Favor? Favor? Hearing none, that portion of public hearing is closed. Anyone like to speak in opposition? 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 Hearing none, that portion of public hearing is closed. I'd like to open it up to the board. Mike?
Just a couple comments and a question. Although you just, Mr. Chairman, mentioned or asked about the potential start time of the project and how long it would last, so I was just wanted to, if for the 3 or 4 people that are at home watching right now and might want to plan their traffic schedule for the fall, But I also wanted to, I mean, I plan on voting for the variances, but I'm just curious about these types of buildings. They always look so plain, and I guess it's a necessity that they don't have any architectural features to them, or.
You comment on that? I think we wanted to continue with the architecture that's been previously constructed for the water utility. I know that we'd like to, match that existing architecture, and if the board has any comments or recommendations for any architectural changes, that we definitely take those into consideration moving forward with finalizing design.
It was just more question, I guess, out of curiosity. These types of buildings tend to look different from something like the old Cambridge, waterworks building at Fresh Pond, which I know you wouldn't be able to recreate that here, but, okay. And then the high water service, is that water to Belvedere or Christian Hill, or?
It's Centralville and Belvedere.
Okay. As a resident of West Centerville, I was just curious, if the vote was delayed, would, people in Belvedere have to buy bottled water instead, or operations would continue?
There's the pump station that I passed out, the existing pump station at Beacon Street, is a supplemental pump station to Stackpole Street. But to be conservative throughout construction, we want to maintain the existing Stackpole Street pump station and keep that in operation to provide the necessary flows to the Belvedere area.
Okay, thank you. No further questions or comments.
Thank you, Mike. Van?
Through you, Mr. Chairman. So pretty much this is just an upgrade of the pump station, because you said it was built in the 80s and then renovated in the mid-90s. So this is kind of like upgrade to the whole system, pretty much. It's every 10 years or so, would you say?
Correct. It's an upgrade to that particular pump station. As I stated, and it's in the report, that the pump station was originally built in 1947 and was rehabilitated in 1995. The pumps themselves are getting antiquated, and the building itself as well. So an assessment was made, and the decision moving forward was to replace the entire pump station as opposed to trying to rehabilitate the existing. So that was the decision-making process moving into design.
Right. I think this is a good project, and anytime you can upgrade systems and operations, it's good for the city, it's good for everybody. And, I think this is a good thing for the city, so best of luck to you on the project.
Thank you, Van.
Thank you, Van. Dennis?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, I just have some questions here. I agree this is an opportunity, I think, to do some changes aesthetically that also will benefit us from an operational standpoint with the water service, so I'm glad to see that. The images that you provided us don't provide an image of the new generator. And so I was just wondering if we have understanding as to what the new generator will be. The old one certainly is the predominant feature at the site today.
Correct.
And I think it's important to know what the generator will be on the new site.
So to answer your question, the new generator it's not in fact a new generator. They're going to be reusing the existing generator and relocating it on the site. The generator seen in the picture is circa 2003, I believe. And the hopes was to reuse the existing generator, but relocate it on site in hopes to be further away from adjacent properties. But we were also constrained again with the site itself and where we could relocate it. But our hopes is that in that northwest corner of the existing site, it will be further back from the property line, as well as the neighboring property to the east.
Are there any options as to where it could go on the site? Partly because we have a beautiful boulevard there, and you're going over the river at that point, and it's quite a a nice setting, I think, as far as a scenic view. And you place this generator in the best place to be seen, as though it's a jewel on the site. But it's not. So we're not screening it, we're making it the feature that you see when you go through this intersection. So I'm not sure if that's the right answer for the generator location.
Okay, yeah, we did look for possible alternative locations. Unfortunately, the area to the east of the site is highly utilized by existing utilities. The river crossings, the water mains run through that eastern portion of the property, and the sewer main runs along that eastern part of the property as well. So the thought behind not locating it there was to allow and maintain access to those utilities. The center part of the property is where the new pump station is going to be located, as well as where the existing pump station is located. So that location was looked at, but was deemed non-feasible due to those locations of those buildings, proposed building and existing building. So we were left in kind with that the western portion of the property.
In order to place it there, we're increasing the pavement on the site as well.
The pavement, the impervious area is actually being reduced on the site. The driveway permit application has a stormwater runoff calculation that shows the existing property impervious area being reduced from 26% to 22%, I believe.
I understand that, but I think you're switching locations of pavement and you're crowding the intersection with more pavement than it currently has?
Yeah, the pavement is reaching to the west.
Correct.
A little further than it was. Green space is going to be provided to the east above the existing utilities.
I want to support this because it's a great idea, but I don't think we've done enough to make it the best answer here. And I think we should be also looking at landscaping.
Okay.
To help solve some of this. I'd like to see the generator pulled away from the intersection as far as it can, the pavement reduced and landscaping provided to make that intersection work aesthetically with that generator minimized as far as the view to it. And I noticed the images that you provided of the other pump house have landscaping around it.
Correct.
And this pump house has pavement instead. So is there a plan for landscaping on this site?
There is, the extent of the landscaping is loaming and seeding to the east portion of the site, outside of the proposed fenced area. The western portion of the site was is currently proposed as being paved, but landscaping is something that could be looked into. The portion where the existing pump station was is proposed to be paved as a parking area for the the water utility workers, so they can park their trucks and provide maintenance as necessary.
The gravel area off to the side is used how?
It's proposed as being loam and seeded.
Oh, I see. Okay. So your access point then to the site, does that change as far as the gate to the site then?
Correct.
So you're placing the access closer to the intersection?
Correct.
Okay. What's the reason to choose the parking area to crowd the intersection versus where it currently is?
The existing, or the proposed pump station was being located in front of the existing curb cut. Therefore, the utility vehicles couldn't enter the property at that location. So in looking at moving the existing curb cut and driveway, moving it slightly to the west where it's currently shown in sheet CO2.
Okay.
C302.
I guess I'd like to see the intersection really kind of shine with landscaping and less impervious pavement. And I think, so you've located the parking closer to the intersection where the view is going to be more difficult to screen it with landscaping. Planted the generator close to the intersection, and you've added pavement there. So you kind of didn't even try to really kind of address the intersection aesthetic. All right, well, is it, I'd like to make a condition here, but I'm not quite sure how much of a condition we can make. I'm going to listen to my fellow board members here. Thank you.
Thank you, Dennis. Gary?
Through you, Mr. Chairman. I mean, overall, I think it's a great plan. It's long overdue to take, you know, an older rehab building over and over again and come up with a new structure is always something that, you know, we're looking to do here. As far as the site for the generator, I mean, we're all very familiar with this site. It does seem as though we're just shifting everything towards the street a little bit. When you keep referring to the utility trucks, I went by the site, are you talking the city utility trucks? I mean, were you talking the big double box trucks, or the F double cab 150s? Just trying to get a dimensional requirement on how much space you really need for utility trucks over there, and how often are they there?
The frequent vehicle would be the trucks you're referring to, yes. But we wanted to allow access in case there needed to be any more heavy equipment that needed to get in there.
Okay. As it relates to the fencing of the property, are you gonna be erecting new fencing?
Correct.
Is it gonna be the same in concert what's existing there, the black chain with, on your other site in Centerville, you have the barbed wire. Are we gonna be having barbed wire up there as well? I know it's kinda.
I don't think the barbed wire had been finalized yet, but any recommendations from the zoning board would be taken into consideration as far as moving forward with the exact specifications of the fencing.
Currently, it's just barbed to the far right and around the back side. Okay. As it relates, does that fire hydrant impede any of that rear side parking, or is it,
Which fire hydrant are you referring to?
on the site itself by the generator? When we pull into that first curb cut with the parking, it's obviously a little overgrown, that's where we're looking. I guess my question would be, as it relates to moving that, if we are gonna be moving the generator, is there a reason why we can't move it backward on the site it's at, move it backward and to the right a little bit? To Mr. McCarthy's point, it seems like we're just pushing everything towards the new bridge that was built for the gateway of the city. It seems like, to me, it seems like there's a little more room in that area that can be utilized as far as the space for the generator and being conducive with the restraints of the property. I'm not too sure with how often utility trucks, I mean, I've been by this property. It's a great cut through. I don't even remember ever in my entire life seeing a truck there. So I personally think that working on this side of the property with the generator, maybe even reducing some of that parking space. I mean, we're all hopeful that the utility emergency vehicles are there at a minimum, and if they are, it's not gonna be that much of an inconvenience if we have to be outside the pump station. With the upgrades both here and at Stackpole, I think that our maintenance is gonna be reduced. I think the emergency use will hopefully be reduced, and I just think there's enough room in that back westerly corner. It's more suitable than jamming everything up. Not looking to change the entire plan. I mean, what you proposed here tonight, you're very well prepared. Your presentation has been very informative, and I appreciate it. just think there's enough room on that site to do what we all need to do with the curb cut existing. That's all I have for now. Thank you for your
Okay.
time.
Thank you, Mr. Perrin.
So do you have any comments at all based on some of the board members' comments about maybe potential changes? Are you open to any changes at all, or are you pretty much presenting the plan as said and you have to go with what's there?
I think the concerns with the intersection is something that can be put back on the table and discussed with the utility as well as our fellow engineers at Woodard and Kern. Landscaping can be considered. We were acting in the best interest of the city as far as the decisions that were made up to this point, and we'll continue to do that in further design. The Beacon Street Pump Station currently has a mobile generator unit. That's something we could consider. And speaking to the water utility about is possibly demoing the existing generator at Stackpole Street and using that for both pump stations. I think it would be in the water utility's best interest to maintain the existing generator at Stackpole Street, but it's definitely something that can be discussed to possibly try to bring that intersection to more favorable site conditions.
Swathi, is this something that DPD could work with the petitioner with to kind of maybe
Yes.
take a look at the current plans and maybe take some of the board's input and
Sure.
look at some revisions, I'll call it? I don't think the board's asking to blow it all up and start from scratch, but I just want to check with you first. This is something that DPD could work with them on, and
Sure. If some condition can be set that way in terms of, some of the points that were provided, we can definitely work with the applicant so that those come through with the final plan.
because I can honestly not disagree with my fellow members. I think Dennis brings up a good point, just where it is and what it could look like, especially if we're building something new. Why not make it a show place for a pumping station? But I think he brings a lot of credence to the comment of, the landscaping with the new building and reducing pavement, that hardscape look. I think it makes a lot of sense. Obviously, I think we'll all agree when you drive by, it looks like a traditional building that's been there for many years, and even with the fencing around it, what the purpose is. But I would be in favor as long as you're willing to, as a condition, sit with DPD, take another look at the plans, take the input from the board, and see what kind of finished product we get with it at that point.
Absolutely.
But just want to make sure you're comfortable with that, I'm not trying to dictate what it has to be, but
No.
I think it was some good feedback. He seemed to be at least open to discussion and revision. And I think you brought up a couple of points that maybe could be changed in the plans anyway, so I appreciate that. Any other comments from the board? So I think as far as the condition, so if you want to read what you have, and Dennis will read the conditions that are stated.
Make a motion.
Oh, well,
Okay, I'll read
why
the
don't you read
conditions.
the conditions first?
Conditions that I think would be applicable, it would be to work with DPD to reduce the parking on site and to work to reuse the existing site access, to work with DPD to develop a landscape plan to screen the new generator and building if possible, and to, a condition to work with DPD to relocate the generator and/or replace with a mobile generator unit. Anything else?
So the pavement that you, where's that captured?
So the first one, to work with DPD to reduce parking on site
Okay.
and to reduce parking and impervious surface.
Okay.
Yep.
Any other additions or comments? Gary, anything?
No, through you, Mr. Chairman, I just think it's, the timing is right to do the entire project. It's definitely gonna be an upgrade, both operationally, site-wise. Some of the input that was brought back and forth this is the only time, we gotta take advantage of this small window of opportunity that we all have when we upgrade city properties and sites of this nature, so that it is conducive to both the city, the board, the residents, and what we're looking to do in the city. So I appreciate your time and your patience in this matter.
Okay, thank you,
Absolutely.
Gary. Okay, could I have a motion, please?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion regarding ZB 2014-11, petitions for a variance seeking relief for dimensional requirements. I'd like to make a motion with the following conditions. Condition number 1, to work with DPD to reduce the parking and impervious surfaces on site and to reuse the existing site access if possible. Condition number 2, to work with DPD to develop a landscape plan to screen the existing generator and new structure. And condition number 3, to work with DPD to relocate the generator away from the intersection and to, and/or replace the generator with a mobile generator unit.
Do I have a second?
Second.
A roll call?
Mr. Paglia,
Approved with conditions?
Mr. Peck,
Approve with conditions.
Mr. McCarthy,
Approve with conditions.
Mr. Bailey,
Approved with conditions.
Mr. Perrin.
Approved with conditions.
Thank you.
Okay, sir, been approved with conditions. Wish you best of luck.
Thank you, Chairman. Thank you, Board.
Yep,
Thank
thank
you.
you. Okay, any other order of business here? Anybody have any comments? Our next meeting is scheduled for April 14th. Any handouts tonight, Swathi?
I'm actually going to bring that to you because one of the applicants was in with me till the last minute, so I have them ready at the table. I'll be back in 5 minutes with that.
Sure. Okay, if there's no other matters, could I have a motion to adjourn?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to adjourn.
Second?
Second.
So moved.